Shalom, family, shalom. Shabbat shalom. How y'all feeling, man? It's Shabbat shalom. You know, this is part 2 of First and Second Kings. So we just, we hitting you over the head with some real shit. So Shabbat shalom. Yeah, we just getting into this First and Second Kings, man. We just continuation. We left off in First Kings, but now we hitting it off with Second Kings. But we just want to give you a little analysis of a First Kings. But we just letting it fill in for a second. What's up to everybody in the chat? Big ups to everybody in the chat. Twist up a lot to everybody in the chat. Shabbat shalom. Now we got the nice healing music, the nice indigenous Indian flute, indigenous Ame'rican flute in the background at 432. Alright, as you know, for the 432, that's 9 above, man. We always stay 9 above, right? Shalom to everybody in the chat, man. Glad to see y'all. How y'all feeling? We just getting over into the second which is the same thing as First and Second Chronicles, but we hitting you over the head with the Second Chronicles. This Second Kings, Second Kings, same thing. Alright. Just a little different descriptions, but it's the same thing. How y'all feeling, man? How it feels to be a Ame'rican, how it feels to be indigenous. Y'all see the water? Yeah, you see the waterfall? See the trees, the forest. Beautiful. Daweed. Alright, Papal Ka Tawab. To all my family, all my Shabbatah. We getting into this Second Kings. We left off though with a few kings from Israel, a few kings from Judah. But we actually only had about 4 kings. Alright, we only had about 3 or 4 kings in the southern tribe. Alright, the southern dynasty. Alright, and we ran through about 6 or 7 kings down to Ahab. Alright, Ahab getting into the Second Kings, and we down to Jehoshaphat. Alright, left off with Jehoshaphat, and we left off with Ahab in First Kings. So a little rendition on those kings. In Judah, it was okay, because in Judah we had Rehoboam, Abiam, Asa, and Jehoshaphat. And we started off when we split it from Solomon. Remember, the kingdom was David, then it went to Solomon, right? Then we split the northern tribes to the southern tribes, and that was Rehoboam who ruled the southern tribes, and it was Jeroboam who ruled the northern tribes. Well, they did a terrible job, both of them, okay? Rehoboam, he built pagan shrines and prostitute shrines, all right? And Abiam did the same thing. These are the tribes of Judah, all right? So then, not until King Asa came, alright, Asa, he banished the prostitute shrines and the idols, but he did not banish the pagan shrines, alright, that Israel worshipped. So they did just like Israel did, alright. So then when you got to Jehoshaphat was the king where it was said that it was 3 years of peace, and that was with Ahab. So in the 3 kings of the 4 kings of Judah, you had at least about 6 or 7 kings of all the way down from Jeroboam to Ahab, and that was chaos. All right, that was complete chaos, and we'll get into it. So Jeroboam, so Jehoshaphat was the first king that actually did good, or Asa, King Asa was, but King Asa, he left the pagan shrines up, right? Alright, he didn't tear down the pagan shrines, but he banished all the prostitute shrines and all the idol shrines, but he left the pagan shrines. All right, and I think that was just so they'd get along with Israel, because when Jehoshaphat, he did the same thing. All right, he did the same thing, but he was able to make peace with Israel for 3 years. Okay, so I think just by him leaving those pagan shrines up, which was he did a good job in the Ahchwa, but I think that was, some initiating peace with Israel, because they were pagan to the fullest. Okay, so we had Jeroboam, who actually made priests for pagan shrines, anybody, right? And so that was his greatest sin, and it's also his other greatest sin is where he that was his greatest sin, where he made priests for those pagan shrines. He made anybody priest, and so his dynasty was destructed. All right, his dynasty was completely destructed. Okay, and by King Baasha. Okay, King Baasha came in and killed Nadab, and he killed the Most High also killed his sixth infant son. Okay, because of his sins against Hawa. All right, so Baasha came in. All right, and Baasha did the same thing, the sins of Jeroboam. All right, so he did the same thing, made any type of priest for the pagan shrines, and so he did the same thing. So after him came Ella, and after him came King Zimri. Now Zimri killed the entire royal line of Baasha because they committed the same sins, and they killed the entire line of Jeroboam. All right, so you have in Israel kings killing entire dynasties of other kings. All right, so Baasha killed Jeroboam dynasty, and Zimri killed Baasha dynasty. All right, his entire royal family. All right, and Zimri is the one who committed suicide by burning down the citadel. Remember, he went into the citadel and burnt it down. All right, with him in it. Okay. All right, so then King Omri, he was the one who actually bought Samaria. Okay, he bought Samaria, but he actually did, in the same sins, okay, as Jeroboam. All right, and so then you get after Omri, King Omri, for the northern kingdom of Israel, you get King Ahab, who we all know about. All right, King Ahab was one of the worst kings, all right, in the eyes of Hawa, because he married Jezebel of the Zidonians, of the Sidonians. All right, that's the Canaanites, right? Of the Sidonians. All right, and he worshipped Baal and built temples for his wives, for all his pagan wives. He built temples, and he worshipped. He bowed down to Baal. All right, so that's where we left off. Where so when we get into 2 Kings, so at the end of 1 Kings is actually the death of Ahab. Is coming to the death of Ahab because he actually went against. He teamed up with Judah, and they went against Ramoth Gilead. At that time, Ramoth Gilead was in the hands of the Assyrians, man. They were in the hands of the not Assyrians. They were in the hands of the Armenians, of King Aram. And remember, King Aram was what? Esau. All right, that was Esau. So it was in the hands of Esau. All right, because of either a trade of us losing it, man. So, all right, so we were already causing atrocities against each other, which we got into. So when we get into the end of the 2 Kings, I want to talk about a prophet that we also had, named Micaiah. Okay, we had a prophet Micaiah who actually prophesied the death of Ahab. Okay, and by a prophet Jehu. Okay, so let's get into 2 Kings, because 2 Kings coming to the prophet Elijah. All right, so and then in also 2 Kings we'll see where Elijah is taken off by God. All right, taken off by the Most High. Okay, by the angels, and they're also prophesying another prophet to come into his place, named Elijah also. All right, so as you can see within these three prophets, all right, who prophesied in this time, as you can see the Ruach, right? You get into the Ruach of prophesying. You get into the Ruach, to the Most High, transferring the Ruach, all right, like he did with Moses to the 70 elders and having them prophesying. You remember what they did during their prophecy, right? They killed the pagan worshipers. Okay, so when we talk about those 70 elders prophesying, okay, that's the same prophecy we're going to see with Jehu. Jehu had his 80 men prophesy, and what they did, they slaughtered, right? They slaughtered the idol worshippers, the pagan worshippers, okay? Those who bow down to Baal. They slaughtered them, and these were Israel. Okay, so it has to do with a lot of back and forth, a lot of slaughtering, and a lot of killing, man. All right, so as you can see, we were doing this, and we were, and you're going to see how we go into our first treaty. Our Israel formed their first treaty with the children of Esau, with the dynasty of Esau. Okay, but you got to remember that Ahchwa gave Esau a covenant also, and they gave them a dynasty, a kingdom. Okay, and as we get into it, you're going to understand that even Assyria, all these dynasties were ordained by the Most High. It's just what's of Israel, what's of Judah, and what's of the other nations. But Ahchwa set up these other nations, as you can see, man, we get into it, man, so you can break down all your conspiracy theories. Ahchwa set up all nations. I told y'all a long time ago that this land, this beautiful heaven, this land that we call earth, is sanctified. Do you know what I mean? Ain't nothing moving on this land without Ahchwa. Ahchwa controls everything. You understand? There is nothing other than Ahchwa. Okay, so he is in control of all things, man. Everything is ordained through him. All right, so that's what we breaking down, man. How he make kings who he wants to make kings. Okay, he separates and he puts together. We talking about the framer and the shaper. All right, so let's get into 2 Kings. This is where Elijah confronts King Ahaziah. All right, let's pull out your swords, man. Pull out your swords real quick. We go to 2 Kings. Elijah denounces Ahaziah. All right, now Elijah is the prophet. Okay, Ahaziah is actually Ahab's son. Is Ahab's son who reigned in his place as king. All right, so in chapter 1, and y'all cop a squat, man. Y'all get you some water, because we're gonna be a minute. We're gonna be a minute. We're just finishing breaking down the prophets, and we're breaking down the kings of Israel and the kings of Judah, and we're letting you, making you aware of the treaties, man. How we talk about this Moor on Moor. We thinking that these Moors were other blacks from Africa and other nations, but we breaking it down. This is Africa. This is everything that you can imagine, with nations here. At the same time that the nations of Israel is here. And so therefore, we breaking it down as far as these treaties we were given with Esau, okay, already. So Esau had already teamed up, made alliances with Israel. Israel made alliances with Esau on our own accord, okay, against the children of Judah. All right, this is more and more wars, man. Okay, and then I'm going to show you where we actually Edom joined with Israel and Judah to fight against Assyria. Okay, in chapter 3, that's the war between Israel and Moab. Okay, so we know it wasn't to fight against Assyria; it was actually to fight against Moab, which is our other brother from Lot. Moab is the descendants of Lot. Okay, so, I mean, we were doing all types of things, man. Edom joining with Israel and Judah to fight against Lot. Okay, and you can remember at one time, where Abraham protected Lot. Okay, Lot and Abraham were together. Okay, on the land together. All right, so yeah, so you know, as you can see, man, the Most High is in control of everything, and we thinking we making these decisions, but He's already knowing our intentions that leads up to our decisions. So it's a beautiful thing how we're confronted with all these decisions that were made. All right, and where persecution is faced because of that. So let's get into it. Elijah confronts King Ahijah. All right, Ahaziah. All right, after King Ahab's death, the land of Moab rebelled against Israel. Okay, so you had the land of Moab rebelling against Israel. This is Lot. All right, this is Lot and Jacob. All right, this is Lot and Abraham. This is Lot and Jacob going at it. All right, one day Israel's new king, Ahaziah. Now Ahaziah was Ahab's, the king of Israel's son, fell through a lattice work of the upper room of his palace in Samaria, and he was seriously injured. So you remember that the kingdom of Israel worshiped Baal, right? All right, they worshiped Baal. Ahab actually built temples to Baal because of his Jezebels, all his Jezreel, all his wives. All right, Jezebel. So therefore, so he fell. Ahaziah fell through a palace in Samaria and was seriously injured. So he sent messengers to the temple of Baal Zebub. All right. That's where he messed up at, where he sent messengers to the temple of Baal Zebub to ask whether he would recover. Okay, that really pissed Elijah off, right? But the angel of the Lord told Elijah, all right? An angel of Ahchwa told Elijah, okay, who was from Tishbe, go and confront the messengers of the king of Samaria and ask them, is there a God in Israel? Okay, so he's like, why are they asking that? So, you know, Ahchwa is about to be in trouble amongst Ahab's descendants. Okay, so we get on down, and that's where Elijah ended up killing the 50 men. So if you go to chapter 10, right, they go and confront who Elijah for saying that, right? So, but Elijah replied to the captain, right? So the captain sent the army with 50 soldiers, if you go down to 9. The captain sent the army with 50 soldiers to approach Elijah, right? So the captain said to him, man of God, that's what they call him, man of God, the king has commanded you to come down with us. But Elijah replied to the captain, if I am a man of God, let the fire come down from heaven and destroy you and your 50 men. Then the fire fell down from heaven and killed them all. Okay, the 50 men. Okay, let's see how much fear they put into Elijah. Alright, so the king sent another captain. He sent another captain with 50 men. Go down to 11. He sent another captain with 50 men, and they said, man of God, okay, we come down, we demand you come down at once. So Elijah did the same thing. He said, if I'm a man of God, alright, if I'm a man of God, let fire come down and destroy you and your 50 men. And again, fire came down and fell from heaven and killed them all. Alright, so once more the king sent a third of the 50 men. But this time the captain went up the hill and fell to his knees before Elijah. Okay, he fell before Elijah. He pleaded with him, O man of God, please spare my life and the lives of these 450 servants. See how the fire of heaven came down and destroyed the first 2 groups, but now please spare my life. Okay, then the angel of the Lord said to Elijah, go down with him and don't be afraid of him. So God had to put fear into him. Okay, he had to put fear into him. Alright, so therefore, Then the angel of the Lord said unto Elijah, go down and holler at him. And Elijah said to the king, this is what the Lord says. What did you send the messengers to Beelzebub, the god of Ekron, to ask whether you will recover? Okay. Is there a God in Israel to answer your questions? Okay, we getting down to 16. All right, I'm sort of speeding it up, but y'all take out y'all swords. We in 2 Kings. All right, we in 2 Kings. All right. All right. Therefore, because you have done this, you will never leave the bed you are lying in. You will surely die. So Ahchwa died, just as the Lord prophesied through Elijah. Okay. So Ahchwa died. Alright. Alright, so Ahchwa died just as the Lord promised through Elijah. Since Ahchwa didn't have a son to succeed in him, his brother Joram became the next king. This took place in the 2nd year of the reign of Jehoram, son of Jehoshaphat, king of Judah. Okay, so then in chapter 2, we go down to chapter 2, and that's when the Lord is about to take Elijah up to heaven. So Elijah is taken into heaven. Alright, the Lord is about to take him into heaven. Alright, and so I just want to read it. When the Lord was about to take Elijah up into heaven in the whirlwind, Elijah were traveling up from Gilgal. Okay, and Elijah said to Elijah, stay here, for the Lord has told me to go. But Elijah trusted in the Lord so much, and he trusted in that the Lord has prophesied through Elijah that that the Lord granted him the prophecies. Okay, after that. Okay, so you go down to 11. Go down just before 11, and Elijah replied, let me inherit a double share of your ruach and become your successor. You have asked a difficult thing. Elijah replied, if you see me when I am taken up from you, then you will get your request, but if not, then you won't. So as sure as they was walking along and talking, suddenly a chariot of fire appeared. Okay, a chariot of fire. Let's go down to 11. Okay, then appeared a chariot of fire. Okay, all right, fire. We talking about flaming, hot. Okay, and a chariot. Okay, analogy is a rider. Okay, a rider. Okay, a rider. And horses. Okay, horses. Zeus. Alright, Zeus. As leaping, Zeus, a fire, parted with them both asunder. Alright, so what that's saying is that as they were walking and talking, suddenly a chariot of fire appeared, drawn by horses of fire. It drove between two men. Alright, separating. Alright. Horses of fire is just showing that something was leaping. This fire was leaping. Okay, and it separated the two men, and Elijah was carried off in a whirlwind. So this fire, this whirlwind, like we talk about, okay, being this cloud, okay, that like we talk about, and we're talking about Lord in the heavens armies, okay. Elijah saw it and cried out, my father, I see the chariots and charioteers of Israel. So if he knew that Ahchwa allowed him to see it, then he knew they would grant, that Ahchwa would grant the fact that he would prophesy through the second Elijah. Okay, so that's showing you that the Most High prophesies who he wants. Okay, now, okay, as they disappeared from sight, Elijah tore off his clothes in distress. Elijah picked up Elijah's cloak with the fallen when he was taken. Then Elijah returned to the bank of the Jordan River. He struck the water with Elijah's cloak and cried out, where is the Lord God of Elijah? Then the river divided and Elijah went across. Okay, Then the group of prophets from Jericho saw from a distance what happened. Okay, they exclaimed, Elijah's ruach rest upon Elijah. Okay, so as you can see, that ruach transfer, or the Most High put that ruach upon somebody else. Okay, and that's because of the abilities that we have if we just believe. The abilities that Ahchwa will give us if you just believe. Okay, if we just start warring with each other and just believe. Alright, so let's go down to 19. And Elijah's first miracles one day. Alright, and Elijah's first miracles. His first miracles, when he went out into the spring that supplied the town with water and threw salt in it. Alright, because the water was it was all the way back. It was all the way back, so they came to it. One day the leaders of the town of Jericho visited Elijah. And they told him, we have a problem, my Lord. They told him, this town is located in pleasant surroundings, as you can see, but the water is bad and the land is unproductive. Okay, so go down to 20. Okay, and Elijah said, bring to me a bowl with salt in it. So they brought it to him. Then he went out into the spring that supplied the town with water and threw it. So he went out to the spring, threw a bowl of salt in it, and he said, this is what the Lord says, I have purified the water, and it will no longer cause death. Alright, so like he said, this is what the Lord says. This is what Ahchwa says, cause death and infertility, and the water has remained pure ever since, just as Elijah said. Alright. So it shows our true ability. Alright. When we are one with the Creator, which is a beautiful thing, man. So let's get down to chapter 3. Alright. And you know, that gets into our dragonology, man. And so we'll dump into that later. Let's get down to chapter 3 with the war between Israel and Moab. The war between Israel and Moab. Like we said before, we know who Israel, Moab is Lot. Okay, so this is the war between them in chapter 3 is going down. Alright, so Ahab's son Joram began to rule. Alright. His son began to rule over Israel in the 18th year of King Jehoshaphat's reign in Judah. Okay, he reigned in Samaria 12 years. He did what was evil in the sight of the Lord's eyes. Alright, this is Joram, evil. In sight of the Lord's eyes, but not to the extent of his father and mother. At least he tore down the sacred pillars of Baal that his father had set up. Nevertheless, he continued the sins of Jeroboam. Okay, this is Ahab's son. He tore down, alright. At least he tore down the sacred pillars of Baal that his father had set up. Nevertheless, he continued the sins of Jeroboam of Nebat had committed and led the people of Israel to commit. Alright, so go down to 4. King Menasseh of Moab, alright, was a sheep herder, a sheep breeder. Because remember, this is Lot's. This is Lot's descendants. Okay, this is Shem. Okay, this is Shem. Moab is Shem. So King Menasseh of Moab was a sheep breeder. He used to pay the king of Israel annual tribute of 100,000 lambs and the wool of 100,000 rams. But after Ahab's death, the king of Moab rebelled against the king of Israel. Okay, so King Joram promptly mustered up an army of Israel and marched over to Samaria. Alright. So when King Jehoshaphat replied, why, of course, you and I are as one. So what he means is, on the way he sent a messenger to King Jehoshaphat of Judah. The king of Moab has rebelled against me. Will you join me in battle against him? So the king of Moab said, Menasseh said, man, look, I'm not finna pay you these 100,000 lambs and 100,000 wool of ram. So let's do what it do. So at that time, as you can see, the king of Israel calling the king of Judah Jehoshaphat to team up with him. So he said, why, of course, you and I are as one. My troops are your troops. That's because, Jehoshaphat was about that life. Jehoshaphat was actually about unity of his people. All right. He was about the unity of his people, no matter how much Ahab's family committed in sin. And that goes back to, that reminds me of our tribal descendants, because that's exactly what this is. Especially when we're talking about Tenskawata, and we're talking about Tenskawata, and that's who we're talking about, these type of people in the scriptures. So when we talk about Tenskawata, we're talking about Tekumesh. Okay, and these are the hearts of the men, just like Jehoshaphat, which is, to be Joseph. Okay, so, or Yosef. When we talk about these hearts, these are the hearts of our kingdom, the hearts of Judah, man. Okay, how he said, man, look, we are as one. We are as one. That's how Jehoshaphat was able to make peace, man, make peace with this crazy bunch of Israel descendants. Okay, so at that time, when Jehoshaphat told him that, yeah, let's do it, then Jehoshaphat asked, what route will we take? He said, we will attack from the wilderness of Edom. All right. Joram replied, okay, the kingdom of Edom and his troops joined them, and all three armies traveled along roundabout route through the wilderness for 7 days. All right, so let's go down to 9. Verse 9 in chapter 3, as you can see, Edom joins in with Israel and Judah. So the king of Israel went, and the king of Judah and the king of Edom. All right, the king of Edom. All right, remember the twin brother Jacob. This is Esau. Okay, the kingdom of Edom, and they fetched the compass of 7 days' journey, and there was no water for the host. Okay, so the kingdom of Edom and his troops joined them, and all three armies traveled along a roundabout route through the wilderness for 7 days, but there was no water for the men or their animals. Okay, so as you can see, man, Edom, Israel, and Judah joined sides against Lot at this specific point. Okay, so that could put away some of your conspiracies theories to say, well, these kingdoms always remain separate. Okay, and or other kingdoms were under our alliance because they paid homage to Israel and Judah. Okay. All right, so as you can go down to 16. Oh, shit. So you can go down to 16. What should we do? The king of Israel cried out, the Lord has brought the three of us here to let the king of Moab defeat us. Okay, lesson 10, 11. But King Jehoshaphat of Judah asked, is there a prophet of the Lord with us? Okay, see, Jehoshaphat knew. Jehoshaphat was from the tribe of Judah, so he knew, is there a prophet of Ahchwa around so we can ask a prophet of Ahchwa? Okay. All right, now that prophet ended up being Elijah. All right, and y'all get that drop on Elijah, man. Get the drop on Elijah. All right, get the drop on that beautiful Hamashiach, man. All right, because I mean when we give our Hamashiach these names, right? But the names are true enough; they're vibrations, true enough, and we give them these vibrations, okay? But in true reality, it's all connected to this source, okay? It's all connected to a source, man. The source of this ruach. Okay, so at the end of the day, these names, yeah, they create a vibration. But knowing your true ruach, knowing your true vibration, and that's 9 above, that always gets you where you need to go. Alright? So when we talk about the true vibration, we always talk about the 9 above, we always talk about the law. Okay, the law is that vibration that we're talking about. Because, like I said before, whether you got these Edom kings, you got these Assyrian kings, you got kingdom of Israel, you got kingdom of Judah, yet and still, Ahchwa ordains this entire thing we doing right now. Okay, so therefore, all these kingdoms are set up under Ahchwa. All right, and every kingdom will be punished according to Ahchwa, according to Judah, according to Israel. All these kingdoms will be punished according to them. You understand? And Israel will take punishment for what he has done. Alright, so it's a beautiful thing, and we'll get into that. We'll get into that. We actually wanna go over to Isaiah, man. We want to talk about Isaiah. Alright, over in 30 and 20. Alright. So we want to talk about that. That's leading us over to there, but we want to finish out. Let's finish out with the 2 Kings, so we can just see, to put away the conspiracies, and we can see how at the end of the day everybody has to choose up. That's the thing. At the end of the day, I don't care if you Esau, I don't care if you Assyria, I don't care if you Israel or Judah. Everybody has to choose up. Alright, and that's the beautiful thing. That's where we get into. That's what we're talking about. That's what it is. Okay. Alright, so let's finish where we left off. So they went to go find a prophet in the land that can give them advice, that could relate to Ahchwa, that could talk to Ahchwa, talk to the king. Okay, and that can relay what they need to do, right? Okay, so if we go down to where probably 20. Okay, let's go to, first of all, let's go down, because I want you to see how Elijah felt about the 3 of them even joining together, right? Because of all the sins that they were committing, right? All the sins that all 3 of them were committing. So, all right, so Jehoshaphat, if they were looking, if you let's go down to 12. Well, let's go back up to 12. We're in 3 and 12. All right, this is 2 Kings. So Jehoshaphat said, yes, the Lord speaks through him, talking about Elijah. So the kings of Israel, Judah, and Edom went to consult with Elijah. Alright, and Israel and Edom went to consult with them, right? So Elijah says, why are you coming to me? Elijah asked the king of Israel. Go to the pagan prophets, your father and mother. Alright, but King Joram of Israel said, no, for it was that Ahchwa who called us 3 kings here, only to be defeated by king of Moab. Elijah replied, as surely as Ahchwa Almighty lives, whom I serve, I wouldn't even bother with you except for my respect for King Jehoshaphat of Judah. Alright, so he actually respected King Jehoshaphat of Judah, because why? King Jehoshaphat of Judah actually brought peace between Israel and Judah, and he actually banished, like Asa did, banished the prostitute shrines and the idol shrines, but he left up the pagan shrines. And I think, like I said, I think he just did that to make peace with Israel, because Israel was nutso. You know, Israel was nutso. Remember, they formed the first treaty with Esau against Judah. Okay, so Elijah replied, as surely as the Lord Almighty lives, whom I serve, I wouldn't even bother with you except for the respect of the King Jehoshaphat. Alright, Now bring me someone who could play the harp. All right. So he like, man, bring me. We gotta hear vibrations. All right. We know about the harp. We know about David and the harp. So we know the harp brings a certain vibration. Now and above, the harp chase hounds, man. That's what the harp does. The sounds of that harp, it chase hounds. Okay, so he said, man, bring me somebody who can play the harp. While the harp was being played, the power of Ahchwa came upon Elijah. Okay, this is in 15. Okay. It came upon Elijah, and Elijah said, this is what Ahchwa says. This dry valley will be filled with pools of water. You will see neither wind nor rain, says Ahchwa, but this valley will be filled with water. Okay? You will have plenty for yourselves and your cattle and other animals. But this is only a simple thing for Ahchwa, for he will make you victorious over the army of Moab. You will conquer the best of their towns, even the fortified ones. You will cut down all their good trees, stop up their springs, and ruin all their good land with stones. Okay. The next day, about that time, when the morning sacrifice was offered, water suddenly appeared, and it was flowing from direction of Edom, and soon there was water everywhere. Okay, we're talking about some type of deluge, right? Okay, so we go down to 24. We go down to 24. So, but when the Moabites arrived at Israelite camp, the army of Israelite rushed out and attacked them until they turned and ran. The Israelite army chased them into the land of Moab, destroying everything as they went. They destroyed the towns, covered their good lands with stones, stomped all the things, and cut down all the trees. All right. All the trees finally over Keresheth, and its stone walls were left, but men with slings surrounded and attacked it. Okay, so now, when we go back to 21, we talk about, meanwhile, the people of Moab heard about the three armies marching. Okay, marching against them, they mobilized every man who was old enough to strap with a sword, and they stationed themselves along the border. Okay, but when they got there the next morning, the sun was shining across. Alright, so when you talk about marching somewhere to the next morning, all you talking about is marching to another city near you. Okay, marching to another city near you. So as you can see, as you can correlate, and use your intuition, you can see that the land of Moab wasn't that far. Alright, wasn't that far. At this time, the land of Moab was not that far from the land of Israel. Okay, it was able to march over there within a day. Okay. So that was that time when they started to cut down all the trees, and finally, okay, when the king of Moab saw that he was losing the battle, when we go down to 26, when the king of Moab saw that he was losing his battle, he led 700 of his swordsmen in a desperate attempt to break through the enemy lines near the king of Edom, but they failed, right? 27. Okay, then the king of Moab, alright, okay, took his oldest son, who would have been next to be king, and sacrificed him as a burnt offering on the wall. So there was great anger against Israel. Okay, so them sacrificing their son on the wall, his oldest son, then there was great anger against Israel. I know we touched on this topic before, where Moab sacrifices their son in wars of Israel against Israel, and the Israelites withdrew and returned to their own land. Okay, because it's crazy, because somebody can give me a synopsis on that, or an analogy, because when you talk about the king of Moab sacrificing a son, we know that was a son of Israel too. You know, when you talk about descendants. Okay, it wasn't a royal descendant of Israel. He was a royal descendant of Moab. But yet and still, we talking, this is Lot's descendants. Moab is Lot's descendants, which is Abraham's brother. So there was great anger against Israel. All right, and the Israelites withdrew and returned to their own land. Okay. So yeah, that's crazy. So yeah, so then we go down to 4. Y'all give me a synopsis on that. What you think about that? And so yeah, when we get to 4, because we know that was a sin to Hawa as far as sacrificing your own children, right? But it done something because it brought anger against Israel. Okay, it brought anger against them, and Israel had to withdraw and return to their own land. So y'all think about that. And so when we get down to chapter 4, okay, when we get down to chapter 4, that's Elijah helps a poor widow. Okay, and then Elijah and the woman from Shunem. Okay, one day Elijah went to a town of Shunem where a wealthy woman lived, and she urged him to come home for a meal, so they made a room with him. Okay, and she didn't have any children. Elijah prophesied the son for her. Okay, and that son ended up, that son ended up dying. Okay, so when you get over, we're in chapter 4, but when you get down to verse 31, Elijah, through some type of, as we call, Elijah through Hawa for one, but then the CPR, given, like, we got to think about that. That's just like, okay, let me get into the verse to actually show y'all what I mean. Okay, so when we get down to 32. Okay, when we get down to 32, okay, Elijah arrived. The child was indeed dead, lying there on the prophet's bed, because Elijah had a room there. See, Elijah was so good of a man of God, a man of Hawa, that descendants will give him rooms everywhere. People will give him places to stay in their homes when he would come to their towns, right? So Elijah had a room at these rich folks' house, right? So he went in alone and shut the door behind him and prayed to Hawa. Then he laid on the child on the bed, placing his mouth on the child's mouth. So it's showing you that he's giving some type of resuscitation. But the most important thing is that before all is done, he prayed to Hawa. Okay? And then he started the resuscitation, which brought back the child's life. Okay, so it's beautiful how, you can bring back the physical moments as far as us physically have to take action. Okay, but us through physical have to take action, like save somebody's life, like get somebody out of a hole, or pull somebody out of a car that's about to blow up, set on fire. So we have to commit that action, as you can see Elijah did. But before we commit that action, before we commit an act, we must pray for his guidance. We must pray that he puts upon us the ruach so we can prophesy. You understand that? So throughout the prayer, and the action, he was able to save the child's life. All right. So that was a beautiful thing. And throughout just the point of belief, if you go down to and when you get into 38, that's where it talk about the miracles during the famine. How Elijah was able to unpoison the food. Alright. Alright. He was able to unpoison the food. Alright, just by putting flour into something. Okay. Just by the tenacity of your knowledge and belief, which gives you wisdom, Shekinah, you can start to create miracles, man. It's a beautiful thing during this process of healing, man. All right. So let's go down to chapter 5. Let's go down to chapter 5 real quick. Alright, so now we want to talk about how the king of Aram, right? The king of Aram, which we know as being Esau, right, had a great admiration for Naaman, the commander of his army. Okay. Now Naaman, the captain of the host of the king of Syria. Okay. The king of Syria was a great man with his master and honorable because by him the Lord had given deliverance unto Syria. Okay, so the king of Aram had great admiration for Naaman, the commander of his army, because through him Ahchwa had given Aram great victories. But though Naaman was a mighty warrior, he suffered with leprosy. All right. So this is where we first talking about leprosy. So Naaman, right? The name of an Israelite. Okay. All right, of Damascus. All right, so this was in Damascus. So remember, we took Damascus. All right, we took Damascus from King Nadab not Nadab, but King Hadad from Esau, from the Edom. Okay, so we took Damascus. So Naaman, right, which is an Israelite, in King Aram's, right, which is Esau, right, king of Aram, right, which is Assyria, but this is Esau, right, Esau ruling Assyria. All right, so therefore this Naaman was in his. So as you can see, we teaming up, man. All right, we teaming up at this point with Esau. All right, but you got to understand that like I said before, man, we always, Judah, Israel always were eunuchs in these Assyrian kingdoms. We were eunuchs. We were important people. We were hosts to the kings, because the kingdom really never falls, man. Everything is ordained by the Most High. That's why it all has to come together for us. It all has to come together for us, family. Okay, so then we go down to about this leprosy, and we go down to 13 and 5, where actually Elijah. Now Elijah, y'all know who Elijah is. That's Moses' son. That's Moses, Aaron's son, where he actually heals leprosy. Okay, he heals leprosy. All right, so he heals the man of leprosy. And I want to get on to 17, because this is real deep. 2 Kings 5 and 17. Because then Naaman said, now this was the Israelite, all right, but please allow me. Now Naaman had this leprosy, so after he healed him with leprosy, right, he told him, man, I believe in your God, Elijah. And this was Israel, all right, over in Assyria, worshiping Baal. Okay, he said, I believe in the God of Israel. All right, in 17. All right, he told Elijah, I believe. He said, Naaman said, all right, but please allow me to load 2 of my mules with earth from this place, and I will take it back home with me. From now on, I will never again offer burnt offerings or sacrifices to any other god except Ahchwa. But then he said, look, in 18, he said, however, right, because he knew that he worked. You know, he was the host for the king of Assyria. So he said, however, in 18, he said, this is Naaman. He said, however, may the Lord pardon me for this one thing. When my master, the king, goes into the temple of God, Ramon, to worship. Okay? When he goes into the temple of God, Ramon, to worship. Let's see if we can pull that up right here, Ramon. Okay, so you can see that Ramon has, you know, brought their own God, the God of Ramon. Okay? The God of Romani or Roman. Okay, so as you can see, this is Ramani or Ramon, right? The same. as H74 was said, Ramon, the same of an Assyrian deity, also of 5 places in Palestine. Okay, the addition of Mithur, the 4th form in a passive particle. All right, H8388 marked off, that is, which pertains mistaken for part of the name Ramon or Ramon, the addition. Okay, so now you can see when it says the addition. This is Josiah 19. So as you can see, it's mistaken for the name Ramon, just how they do Greece, right? How they do Greece or Rome, right? How they do Greece or Rome. So now they just put that title over it. So now, as you can see, as you see in Ramon, Hebrews 7:4-17. All right. So they tell you it's a passive. It is a passive particle of, with the article marked of, which pertains mistaken for part of the name Ramon or Ramon the addition. Okay. So is Ham Mithor passive particle Ham. Okay. Ham is a passive particle of Ramon. You get what I'm saying? So Ramon in the Hebrews, you can see that this is after when they get into the Ramon worship, worship of Ramon. As you can see, it says for itself, it is a mistaken part of a name, which pertains mistaken for part of the name Ramon. All right. All right. So as you can see again, that's what it is. It always creates dualities. Always create dualities, man. Always create dualities. Okay, so there's no kingdom on earth, no duality as the one in heaven. Okay, so go in peace, Elijah said to Naaman. He told him to go home. All right, give me a second. Shalom, family. How y'all doing? Shalom. Shalom. Hey, Baal Hashem. I just want to, man, this little instrument came over my desk. I just want to hit you over the head with it. It's by the HHP Public Assets. It's called Why Shall We Have Peace to Be Made Slaves? Okay. Indian surrenders during after King Philip's War. Alright, and Dodger hijacks on that King Phillips. Alright, we got a bunch of versions of these King Phillips, but when we talking about King Phillips II, y'all dodge y'all hijacks on that, because we are talking about this more on more. Okay, so let's check this out. Let's go down to, because we got to dodge a lot of hijacking this too, but let's go right here where it's talking about the fear of enslavement in King Philip's War. Okay, let's start up here a little bit. It says, being shipped out of the country as a slave perhaps was the worst possible fate. Okay, but even local slavery and servitude struck fear into the hearts of the indigenous, okay, the Indians, the indigenous, all right, and threatened to undermine the entire social fabric. Okay, the social fabric and the kingship networks of regional communities. Okay, so they keeping it real on that, because we were tribed up, and we had our sachems. Okay, so the kingship networks of regional communities, hundreds, if not thousands, okay, of natives turns themselves into local English governments or English allied native leaders. Okay, hoping to avoid slavery at all costs. So we talking about going into as eunuchs, right? Okay, at all costs. But these surrenderers often found themselves subjected to similar treatment as enemy Indians. Okay, as enemy Indians, ranging from being sent out of the country, resettled to new, designated areas, forced to serve in English homes as slaves, as servants, and having their children forcefully placed as servants in English households. The threat of enslavement weighed heavily on the psyche of New England natives, particularly during King Philip's War, far from being a minor consideration. The threat of enslavement was one of the key factors, okay, when it came to natives fighting, okay, later in the war surrendering. All right, so yeah, it's self-explanatory. So we actually feared. I mean, I know a lot of us stayed home, and a lot of us went scattered to. A few of us stayed home. A lot of us went to different parts of America. So you're talking about the islands, Caribbeans, and Jamaica, and Haiti, and then a bunch of islands in South America. And then we went different parts of America. But yes, some of us went overseas. Okay, and then you had two different type of slave routes, right? You had, well, a bunch of them, but you had two different type of slave routes where it talks about Africa was, Africans were going over to New England, okay, and not this New England, like how people try to say like this is the New England, but America's the New England, but we're talking about over to Europe, okay, and starting into Canada, past Canada. So the fear of enslavement in King Philip's War. All right, y'all dodge hijacks on this King Philip. Historians have known for a long time that one of the elements of King Philip's War was the drastic increase in Indian enslavement, indigenous enslavement. This intertwined with African slavery in New England. Okay, so they're even appreciate that, where we can appreciate that because they're they're letting you know these are two different slave type of trades. Okay, as with most of the rest of English colonies during the first decades of colonization, natives were enslaved locally, or sent to the Caribbean after the Pequot War in 1636, 1638. All right, so now we're talking about that Pequot War. Now that's over here, right? So that Pequot War is where they're talking about is where the Pequot tribe had rose up on these English cats, and in return, man, they came back and killed almost the entire Pequot tribe, leaving only about 11 Pequot warriors to be to be mingled in with the Narragansett and the Wapanas, okay? And so that was a critical time. I'm talking about in 1638, 1636 to 1638, just 2 years, they had end up wiping out this Pequot tribe. All right, and enslaved Africans were imported at least as early as 1638, when some were shipped from Providence Island deep in Spanish Caribbean, okay, and some for enslaved Pequots. All right, natives, okay, we talking about indigenous Ame'ricans were forced into slavery and servitude during times of peace. All right, then times of peace for various reasons as well. But it was not until King Philip's War that natives, indigenous Indians, all right, indigenous Anasazi, you understand, were again enslaved in large numbers. Okay, all right. Correspondence, shipping records, court cases, town records, and even contemporary official histories of the war, such as William Hubbard, all point to the same thing. Indians were enslaved in mass, and either distributed locally or sent overseas. Okay, distributed locally or sent overseas to a variety of destinations. Okay, in many cases, these reports are fascinatingly frank. In November 17, 1675, for example, a New England merchant named Captain Holy reported to a correspondent in Kent, England, that an English colonists do take and kill, all right, they do take and kill many of, that is, Indians, the indigenous, all right, and those that take they send away those that they take. They send away for Barbados and Navel, all right, and Jamaica and Spain, all right, and Seldom, all right. So you can see, man, it's going down. As you can see, man, they're saying that they're sending us to the Caribbean islands if we're not staying, where we at in the Americas, all right. The fear of enslavement, and more specifically, the more of being sold as a slave out of the country, okay, played a major role in the waging war of King Philip's War. Okay, perhaps even more than the scholars have typically acknowledged. The terrifying prospect of being sent overseas as a slave was constantly present for natives, all right, for indigenous, even in times of peace, all right. The fear of being Barbados, all right, is what we called it, or what they call it, forcefully and unjustly being sent to the Barbados as a servant or slave was, was one could argue, something applied equally to Indians as well as prisoners of wars. And okay, so all right, don't dodge a hijack on that, because you understand that Indians are prisoners of war. So those are synonymous in that, in that sense, because Indians are prisoners of war and criminals, all right, in the British Isles. All right, so no, when they putting criminals before the British Isles, they're talking about Nagas too. Okay, so when you talk about Brit, all right, and go to your Septuagint, when you say Brit, that means black. All right, that means dark. Okay, and Isles we know mean islands. Okay, so you gotta understand when they're talking about Brit Isles, they're talking about your black people in the Isles. Okay, they're calling them criminals. All right, so. And such fears were not unfounded. New England colonial records routinely and very matter-of-fact report large and small shipments of Indians being sent to the Barbados, Bermuda, and Jamaica, and more generically out of the country. Okay, for example, all right, like you said, more generically, okay, out of the country. All right, so more generically, when he's saying that just means when they say out of the country, that's what they're talking about, just to Barbados, to other parts of America. All right, for example, during the winter of 1675-1676, the Newbury, Massachusetts minister James Knowles, okay, noted that a group of Indians had been sent to Barbados without any further explanation given or apparently needed, and because some such episodes occurred in early war, the word spread quickly to the natives. All right, and so that was the fear, that they didn't want to leave because we didn't want to mess up our social order of what was going on. But like it says all over through the Torah, our final warning. Okay, the threat of foreign enslavement drove some natives deeper into resistance, okay, against the English, as when James Quannapaquat reported to the English in early 1676 that some young Indian warriors had stated, "Why shall we have peace to be made slaves?" Why shall we have peace to be made slaves? Remember, it's part of our exile, right? Why should we make peace to? Why shall we have peace to be made slaves? And either be killed or sent away to sea to Barbados, as mentioned above. Yeah, that's a very, what I'm saying, that's why shall we have peace to be made slaves? And I think at this point, Israel, we know what's time is going on, but we know that we gotta find our way back to the kingdom. That's what's going on. So it's an illusion. We've been side swapped, Billy Show Bob, or whatever you like to call it. But the time is near. The time is near for us to be getting back to this kingdom, man. All right, mentally, physically, and everything. Getting back to the Creator is the most thing about it. So you gotta understand. And as you can see, He is over control of everything, even your mercenaries, even all your governments, everything. He's over everything, man. So everything has to answer to his laws. All right, and everything has to be punished accordingly. So, man, I think Israel, we in the right place right now. All right, you know, our ancestors wishing, you know, they were here with us to be able to fight this war that we're fighting right now. Because you got to remember, we are prisoners of war. Okay. All right, so okay, to Barbados. Okay, similarly after the English raid. All right, let me see. Let's go on. Okay, yeah. So why shall we have peace to be made slaves? Okay, and either be killed or sent away to Barbados, as mentioned above. Similarly, all right. Similarly, after the English raid on the Palisade, Narragansett, okay, stronghold in southern Rhode Island. Like I said, these are all, you know, Massachusetts, Connecticut, New Jersey, Virginia, all your states over there, man, in Rhode Island in December 1675, which resulted in, and Connecticut was Connecticut, was Connecticut, all right, and that name even goes deeper too, all right, which resulted. I'm gonna have to pull that up. But so in Rhode Island in December 1675, which resulted in as many as 350 captives being taken. The younger Narragansett leaders who survived are included Kanachet and Panaquan vowed that they would fight it out to the last man rather than would come servants to the English. All right, the female Sacha went Tamu. All right, went Tamu. Alright, went Tamuhu. Alright, and the Pocasset band may have joined Metacon. Alright, Metacon. Alright, we talking about these ho cons, these Anasazi, man. Metacon, particularly in response to English enslavement practices. The fear of overseas enslavement was so observable and widespread that it was used as a recruiting tactic by the enemy Indians. Okay, so what we talking about when we talk about enemy Indians? You talking about this more and more stuff, man. Again, right? Yeah, unfortunately. All right, so it's just a realization that, hey, man, we talking about Indian enemies, and we're not talking about no Moors. We talking about Israel. All right, Israel being an enemy of Israel. Israel being an enemy of Judah. Alright. So yeah, when you talk about these enemy Indians, Daniel Crooken reported that the natives who allied with King Philip, okay, the Pokanakwa, Sachem sent secret messages to the Christian Indians that the English designed in the conclusion to destroy them all or send them out of the country for bond slaves. Alright, so he sent secret message to the Christian Indians that the English designed. Okay, the Christian Indians that the English designed in the conclusion to destroy them all or send them out of the country for bond slaves. Okay, later in that war, Philip allied Indians were able, man, dodge y'all hijacks on that too, man. They bobbling and twisting your head up with that too, so y'all make sure you dodge your own hijacks. Alright, in the conclusion to destroy them all or send them out of the country for bond slaves. Later in the war, Philip allied Indians were able to convince a fair number of natives at the praying town of the Hassamasit to join them by arguing that in the end, the English planned to send them all out of the country for slaves, so they were trying to band together. Alright. Okay, so surrenders and enslavement. Enslavement also affected another group that in theory should have been spared, namely the surrenderers, right? All right? Because he said, right, if we surrender, that, you know, that the deal was that if you surrendered, that you were supposed to not be killed, or especially not, you didn't think you were going to be exported or imported, right? But you know, you got exiled and everything else. So enslavement was also another group, that in theory should have been spared. All right, namely the surrenderers. Generally speaking, surrenderers were native Indians. Native Indians, and indeed at times whole families and even whole bands or communities, who gave themselves up to authorities in Connecticut, Massachusetts, Plymouth, Rhode Island, perhaps for protection or as a statement of neutrality, sometimes out of fear, okay, and sometimes to offer their services to English in the war, okay, such as the case with Ahchwa, the female sachem of the Sakonnet Indians, okay, who offered to support the English with two major conditions: that people from her community would have their lives spared, right? Men, women, and children, and importantly, that they would not be sent out of the country for slaves. So as you can see, what it looks like is the same thing that was going on in 1st and 2nd Kings, is that the fact that they were forming treaties, right? Exactly. They were forming treaties, so the same kind of things were going on. All right, and you can bet and believe that we were trying to kill each other, and they were forming treaties with with foreigners to not be killed. Okay, same thing going on. All right, and so let's go down. Okay, on June 9th, 1696, the colony of Massachusetts decreed that enemy Indians would surrender themselves, would receive leniency. The only exceptions were notable leaders or known killers, who likely would be executed or shipped overseas as slaves. Okay, we know when they talking about overseas, talking about to the Caribbean islands, right? Generically, right? But the definition of leniency for non-combative surrenders was incredibly nebulous. All right. In fact, if not outright illusory. Okay. Most magistrates seemingly agreed with Josiah Winslow and the Plymouth War Council, who decreed all natives, all right, all indigenous, surrenderers or not, to be explicitly complicit. All right, compliers with them therein, and therefore engage in treasonous rebellion, okay, as subjects who had broken their covenant with the English colonies. All right, their treaties. Slavery was rationalized to be a justifiable punishment for all indigenous Indians, for all indigenous. All right, consequently, surrenderers found themselves entirely at mercy, okay, of local magistrates, who often forced them into limited term slavery. All right, so yeah, as you can see, that just makes me want to, yeah, that's Deep Spill, man. I dropped that link over there, man. So this is called Why Shall We Have Peace or Be Made Slaves? Indian Surrenders. All right. But with that, I sort of let's since I got you here, that's a good one. Since I got you here, we talk. I want to get over into Zechariah. Alright. Yeah, I wanted to get over to the Zechariah, man. Yeah, how y'all feeling? That's what's up. That's what's up. Yeah, I think I want to get over into a Zechariah. I was seeing something earlier, but I think I want to mess around in the Zechariah. So y'all go over to your Zechariah. Go over to Zechariah real quick. Is that where I was at? Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, I think it was. Y'all there yet? That's what's up. While we looking in the Zechariah, we might as well can go over here and check some other stuff out, man. Let's check this out, man. We had got it in the drop, man. Y'all know angels are dragons. So when we going over to the Torah, you know how it goes, okay? Dragons, a brief history of mythical fire-breathing beasts. We got this in the ether, man. I know it was imperative to hit you over the head with it. Alright? Because remember, at the end of the day, this is what we're talking about, man. We're talking about, you know, we acknowledging the strength, for sure. We acknowledging the strength, man, we acknowledging the priest as a doc, for sure. We're talking about the Lord of the Heavens armies, man. So best believe, you know, like Joshua, we dragoned up. Okay, and okay, what's wrong with it? Oh no, we gotta block that. Alright, dragons are among most popular and enduring of the world's mythology creatures, right? Dragon tales are known in many cultures, from the Americans to the Europeans, alright, and from India to China. Alright, they have a long and rich history in many forms and continue to populate our books, films, and televisions and shows. Alright, it's not clear when or where stories of dragons first emerged, but huge flying serpents were described as at least as early as the age of the ancient Greeks or the Sumerians. Alright, hold on one second. Okay, or the Sumerians. Alright, it is not clear when or where stories of dragons first emerged, but the huge flying serpents were described in at least early as the ancient Greeks and Sumerians. Alright, so you know they talking about the Greeks and the Hebrews, right? For much of the history, dragons were thought of as being like other mythical animals, right? But then you look at the land and you can see all the dragon corridors, right? Sometimes useful and protective, other times harmful and dangerous. Alright, yeah, that's true. Alright, that changed when Christianity spread across the world. Alright, dragons took on a decidedly sinister interpretation and came to represent Satan. Right? In medieval times, most people who heard anything about dragons knew them from the Bible, and it's likely that most Christians at the time, right? Because remember, they changed all the dragons to dinosaurs. Right? Right. And so, you didn't correlate these dinosaurs to dragons or even the angels, because they separated them in the scriptures also to make you think that the angels weren't the dragons. Okay, and so you had good angels and bad angels, but the fact of that, yeah, they satanized the dragon, right? So that anytime you talk about dragon, they think you're talking about something bad, right? They think you're talking about something bad, realistically. Okay, after all, Leviathan, alright, the massive monster described in detail in the book of Job, chapter 41, sounds like a dragon. Alright. Its back has rows of shields tightly sealed together. Each is so close to the next, alright, that no air can pass between. They are joined fast to one another. They cling together, alright, and cannot be parted. Its sorting throws out flashes of light. Its eyes are like rays of dawn. Flames stream from its mouth. Sparks of fire shoot out. Smoke pours from its nostrils as from its boiling pot over burning reeds. Its breath, alright, its secure breath, alright, set coals ablaze, alright, and flames dart from its mouth. We talking about that fire, right? Yeah, best believe the dragon is instilling with those four elements, man. A belief in dragons was based not just on a legend, but also hard evidence. Talking about hard evidence, man. Look at this. We're talking about the center dragon, the Chinese dragon, diversity among dragons. Okay, through the most people. Excuse me one second. Though most people can easily picture a dragon, people's ideas, descriptions of dragons, right, vary dramatically. Alright, some dragons, right, but you never see them with the real ones. Where the wings at? You never see them put the wings on. They took the wings off the dinosaurs and even off the dragons too, because you already know, man, somebody ain't trying to let you fly. Right? Somebody ain't trying to let you fly, man. Alright, so some dragons can speak or breathe fire. Others can't. Some are only a few feet long. Others span miles. Alright, when you talk about the Dragon Corridor over in the Grand Canyon, that's 5 miles long. Yeah, 5 miles long. I mean, we know the spiel, man. We know these dracons are real. I don't know much about the Game of Thrones. Y'all get over to the drop. Drop is hitting you over the head. I think he got somebody covering the Game of Thrones. So y'all get over there, man. Big ups to the Shabbatah for sure. About these dragons. So it's that real. Y'all get that. I'll drop that article too. The Christian church created legends of righteous and godly saints battling and vanquishing Satan in the form of dragons. The most celebrated of these was Saint George, the dragon slayer, who in legend comes upon a town threatened by terrible dragon. He rescues a fair maiden, protects himself protects himself with the sign of the cross, and slays the beast. The town citizen, impressed by Saint George's feature of faith and bravery and military, immediately convert to Christianity. Yeah, that's a beautiful story, man. But yeah, that's just like a whitewash story, man. But it's beautiful though. All right, so let's go over to Zechariah, man. I think it's a call to return. I think I'm gonna start there. I was looking for something, but I must have been in a different chapter. Or was I? Yeah. I'm trying to see if I can catch it real quick. Okay. All right, yeah, so let's go over, we're just going to read that for a minute. All right, so it's a call. Let's go over to, matter of fact, we can just pull up the sword. Let's go to Zechariah. Okay, Zechariah chapter 1. Okay, this is a call to the return of Ahchwa. Alright. In the 8th month. Alright. In the 8th month. In the 2nd year of Darius. Alright, so the 8th month. Right. If April is the 1st month, then we know April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November. So he's talking about in November. So in the 8th month in November, the 2nd year of Darius, came the word of Ahchwa into Zechariah, the son of Berechiah, okay, the son of Iddo, alright, the prophet, saying, alright, so he's letting you know this is prophecy. He's saying, alright, the Lord Ahchwa hath seen, sore displeased with your fathers. Therefore say thou unto them, thus say Ahchwa of hosts, turn ye unto me, say the Lord of hosts, and I will turn unto you, say Ahchwa of hosts. Be ye not as your fathers, unto whom the former prophets have cried, saying, thus said the Lord of hosts, turn ye now from your evil ways and from your evil doings. But they did not hear nor hearken unto me, said Ahchwa. Your fathers, where are they? And the prophets, do they live forever? But my words and my statutes which I command my servants, the prophets, did they not take hold of your fathers? And they returned and said, like as Ahchwa of hosts thought to do unto us according to our ways and according to our doings, so have he dealt with us. Alright? So has he dealt with us. Okay, a vision of a horseman. Okay, upon 4 and 12th day, alright, of the 11th month. Alright, y'all figure that out, which is the month of Shabbat, alright, or Sabbat, alright, a Jewish month, Shabbat, alright. In the 2nd year of Darius came the word of the Lord unto, alright. So I ain't worried about that being they said the 11th month, being the month of Shabbat. I don't care. Every month is a Shabbat, so I'm not even going to try to get into that. But Zechariah, the son of Berechiah, the son of Iddo, prophet, saying, okay, I saw by night, behold, a man riding upon a red horse, and he stooped among the myrtle trees that were in the bottom, and behind him there were the red horses speckled in white. Then said, O Lord, what are these? Okay, and the dragon that talked with me said unto me, I will show thee what thee. And the man that stood among the myrtle trees answered and said, these whom Ahchwa hath sent to walk to and fro through the earth. And they answered, the angel, the dragoon of Ahchwa that stood among the myrtle trees, and said, we have walked to and fro through the earth, and behold, all the earth sitteth still and is at rest. Then the dragoon of Ahchwa answered and said, O Ahchwa of hosts, how long wilt thou not have mercy on Jerusalem and on the cities of Judah? Alright? against which thou hast had indignation these 70 years. Okay? And Ahchwa answered, the dragoon that talked with me with good words and comfortable words. Okay? So the dragoon that communed with me said unto me, cry thou, saying, thus said Ahchwa of hosts, I am jealous for Jerusalem and for Zion with great jealousy, and I am very sore displeased with the heathen, alright, with the heathen that are at ease, alright, with the heathen that are at ease, okay, the foreign nations, the Gentiles, the troop of animals, alright, or a flight of locusts, alright, the foreign nations are at ease, alright. So here I am very displeased with the heathen, the foreign nation, for they are at ease, for I will put a little displease, a little displease, and they helped forward the affliction, alright. I was but a little displeased, alright, alright, and they helped forward the affliction. Okay, talking about on you, Yasharala. Therefore, thus said Ahchwa, I am returned to Jerusalem with mercies. My house shall be built. In it, said Ahchwa of hosts, and the line shall be stretched forth upon Jerusalem. A line. We're talking about that seed of David. Alright, cry yet, saying, thus said Ahchwa of hosts, my cities through prosperity shall yet be spread abroad, and Ahchwa shall yet come forth Zion, and shall yet choose Jerusalem. Alright, shall choose Jerusalem. Alright. Then lifted I up. Then I lifted up mine eyes and saw, and behold, 4 horns. And I said unto the dragoon that talked with me, alright, what these be? And he answered, he said to me, these are the horns which I have scattered Judah, Israel, and Jerusalem. Okay, and the Lord showed me 4 carpenters. Then I said, what come these to do? And he said, saying, these are the horns which I have scattered Judah, so that no man did lift up his head, but these are come to fray them, to cast out the horns of the Gentiles, which lifted up their horns over the land of Judah, to scatter it. So what is he saying? So what is he saying? He replied, alright, he said, then I looked up and saw 4 animal horns. What are these? Then I asked the angel who was talking with me, the dragoon. He replied, these horns represent the nations that scattered Judah, Israel, and Jerusalem. Alright, then Ahchwa showed me 4 blacksmiths. What are these men coming to do? I asked. The dragoon replied, these 4 horns, these nations scattered and humbled Judah. Now these blacksmiths have come to terrify those nations and throw them down to destroy them. Alright, understand that, man. Overstand that. Alright. So, man, a little later on, we'll get into the future prosperity of Jerusalem. We'll talk about the future prosperity of Jerusalem. Alright. So, it's a beautiful thing. So, man, I'm going to bed. So, I'm waking up. One of the two. You never know. But, Baal Hashem, Abba Ahchwa, Yahweh Shua, HaMashiach. Alright, And your dragon got wings, man. Your dragoon, oh yeah, it got wings, bruh. Alright? We're talking about the line of Judah. Shalom. Shalom, man. Jehoshaphat. Shalom. Alright? Halil Hawa. Shalom. So yeah, chapter 5 and chapter 6, chapter 7 of 2nd Kings. Y'all really should check it out because it goes through the prophecies, okay? The prophecies of food, the prophecies of him saving lives, the prophecy he has effects on other nations. So it's a beautiful thing that this Elijah, man, this son of the Ruach, man, who son of the Most High, who carries the angels around him, who's the greatest prayer to Hawa, this Elijah. And so y'all check that out. So we want to go over to chapter, the middle of chapter 8, actually, in 2nd Kings, where Elijah goes to even Damascus. Okay, at the time, this is Damascus. Actually, the capital was Edom. Okay, so let's go down to chapter 8. Okay. Then we'll start at 7. Okay, so this is when Hazael murders Ben-Hadad. Okay, now you know Ben-Hadad was the leader of the king of Edom. Alright, was the sachem of Edom. Alright, so this when Elijah pretty much goes to Damascus and prophesied that. Now watch how this happens, okay? Watch how this happens. So Elijah went to Damascus, the capital of Aram, where King Ben-Hadad lay sick. When someone told the king that the man of God had come, the king said to Hazael, "Take a gift to the man of God, then tell him to ask the Lord, will I recover from this illness?" Okay, so then go down to 10, and Elijah replied, "Go and tell him you will surely recover, but actually Hawa shown me that you will surely die." Okay, that you will surely die. So you go to 11, and this is where Elijah was actually setting up Hazael to be the next ruler, because he would be the one that Elijah would prophesy to him. All right, so check it out. Elijah replied, "Go and tell him you will surely die, but actually you will surely recover, but actually the Lord has shown me that you will surely die." Elijah stared at Hazael with a fixed gaze until Hazael became uneasy. Then a man of God started weeping. "What's the matter, my lord?" Hazael asked. Elijah replied, "I know the terrible things you will do to the people of Israel. You will burn their fortified cities, kill their young men with the sword, dash their little children to the ground, and rip open their pregnant women." Hazael responded, "How could a nobody like me ever accomplish such a thing?" Elijah answered, "The Lord has shown me that you are going to be the king of Aram." Now it's true that the Lord has shown him, because that's exactly what happened. Okay, that was prophesied exactly what happened. Okay, because the next day Hazael took a blanket, soaked it in water, and held it over the king. Who was the king at the time? Was that Hazael? Okay, held it over his face. Okay, held it over his face, and then then Hazael became the next king of Aram. Okay, then Jehoram rules in Judah, and he commits evil. And during Jehoram's reign, the Edomites revolted against Judah and crowned their own king. So Jehoram went with all his chariots to attack the town of Zair. The Edomites surrounded him and his chariots' commander, but went out at night and attacked them under the cover of darkness. But Jehoram's army deserted him and fled their homes. So Edom has been independent from Judah to this day. Okay? So Edom has been independent from Judah to this day. The town of Libnah also revolted about the same time. The rest of the events in Jehoram's reign and everything he did are recorded in that book. So when Jehoram died, he was buried with the ancestors in the city of David. Then his son Ahaziah became the next king. Okay, Ahaziah ruled in Egypt. Alright, and therefore that's when Edom split. So Edom to this day has his own king. Okay, so Ahaziah, son of Jehoram, began to rule over Judah in the 20th year reign of Joram, son of Ahab. Okay, so that was the son of Joram during that reign. Okay, where Edom went against Judah. Okay, so Ahaziah was 22 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 1 year. Okay, Ahaziah followed the evil example of King Ahab's family. He did what was evil in the sight of the Lord, just as Ahab's family had done, for he was related by marriage to the family of Ahab. Okay, from Jezebel. Okay, so he was a king over in Israel by marriage. Okay, so that's when the Most High said, "Look, man, I'm about to split this little kingdom up over here up," and he appointed Jehu was anointed king of Israel. Now Jehu was actually from the line of Judah. He was from the actual tribe of Judah, and that's where these five kings after Jehu, Jehoias, Jehoash, and Jeroboam, and Zechariah, okay, were the descendants of Judah. That was that God had prophesied, that Ahchwa had prophesied to go over to the kingdom, because the kingdom of Israel was messed up, man. Edom and Israel was in the kingdom of Israel together. Okay, so when they split, that's because of King Jehu prophecy. Alright, the prophet King Jehu. Alright, now who also carried that ruach. So this was a prophecy like the elders, because this was prophesied that Jehu would come in and be in the line of Judah, be a descendant, in the descendant of Judah, be a king over Israel with his 4 descendants after him. Okay, to set this atonement in Israel. Hold on for a second. So yeah, so this prophecy of Jehu was from 1 Kings of chapter 16, where the prophet of Jehu, the message from the Lord against Baasha, alright, against Baasha and his descendants, alright. And so it was delivered because Baasha had done evil in the sight of the Lord, that this prophet Jehu had delivered a prophecy. So they made him king, and I'll show you how in chapter 9. This prophet they made king, this King Jehu, who is actually a descendant of Judah, alright, and his name is Jehu for a reason, alright, a certain vibration. So let's go down to chapter 9 with Jehu anointed king of Israel. Alright, meanwhile, Elijah the prophet, okay, this is still during the time of Elijah the prophet, had summoned a member of the group of prophets. Get ready to travel, he told him, and take this flask of oil with you. Go to Ramoth Gilead. Okay, this Jehu came up from a Pacific government in Israel. Okay, this Ramoth Gilead. Okay, this is before the kingdoms were split up. Okay, with the kingdoms of Solomon, when he set up these 12 districts. Okay, this Ramoth Gilead. So this is where Jehu is actually a descendant from. Okay, so this is a very important district, Ramoth Gilead. Alright, because all Israel is trying to fortify this Ramoth Gilead. Okay, so meanwhile, Elijah the prophet has summoned a member of the group of prophets. So he told him to get ready to travel. Go to Ramoth Gilead and find Jehu, son of Jehoshaphat. Okay, Jehu, son of Jehoshaphat, son of Nimshi. Alright, Nimshi. Call him into a private. Yeah, y'all check out that Nimshi too. Okay. Call him because he's son of Jehoshaphat and son of Nimshi. Okay, matter of fact, we can go down to alright, Nimshi was a grandfather. Okay, Nimshi was a grandfather of Jehu. Great man. Y'all check out Nimshi. Okay. Y'all check into that. So call him into a private room away from his friends and pour the olive oil on his head. Okay. This is the prophet Jehu. Okay. And say to him, this is what Ahchwa says. I anoint to you to be king over Israel. Then open the door and run for your life. Okay. Jehu was a very, very strong man. So the young prophet did as he was told and went to Ramoth Gilead. When he arrived there, he found Jehu sitting around the other officers. He did exactly that. Okay. So basically, then the young prophet poured oil on over Jehu's head and said, this is what the Lord God of Israel says. I anoint you to be king over the Lord's people, Israel. You are to destroy the family of Ahab, your master. In this way, I will avenge the murder of my prophets and all the Lord's servants who were killed by Jezebel. Okay, who were killed by Jezebel, his wife. The entire family of Ahab must be wiped out. I will destroy every one of his male descendants, slave and free alike, anywhere in Israel. I will destroy the family of Ahab. All right. Which is a descendant of Israel. Okay. And I destroy the families of Jeroboam, son of Nebat, and Baasha, son of Ahijah. Dogs will eat Ahab's wife, Jezebel. And that's exactly what happened. Okay, so Jehu, you go down to 14. Jehu kills Joram and Ahaziah. Okay, he killed both kings. Okay. Okay, and then go to chapter 10. Jehu kills 70 living sons in the city of Samaria. Okay, this is important because now this is when Jehu, all right, of Ramoth Gilead, okay, where he kills Ahab's family, but he also tells the elders of Israel to choose a king, and they didn't choose a king. They wouldn't choose anybody. So let's break that down. Let's get into that chapter 10. All right, let's get into chapter 10, where Ahab has 70 sons living in the city of Samaria. So Jehu wrote letters and sent them to Samaria. This is in Samaria, to the elders and officials of the city, okay, and to the guardians of the king Ahab's sons. He said, the king's sons are with you, and you have at your disposal chariot, horses, fortified cities, and weapons. As soon as you receive this letter, select best qualified your master's son to be your king and prepare to fight for Ahab's dynasty. So he telling them, look, y'all select the king of Ahab like y'all want and prepare, because I'm coming to fight. I'm coming to kill all y'all, right? So, but they were paralyzed with fear. Go down to 4. But they were paralyzed with fear and said, we've seen that 2 kings couldn't stand against this man. What can we do? We're talking about Jehu, right? So the palace and the city administrators gathered together with the elders and the guardians, and the king's sons sent the message to Jehu, we are your servants and we will do anything you tell us. We will not make anyone king. Do whatever is best that you think. All right. So Jehu responded with a second letter. If you are on my side, right, then you are going to obey me. Bring the heads of your master's son to me at Jezreel's, the land of Jezreel, by this time tomorrow. And best believe that's exactly what they did. When the letter arrived, they killed all 70 of the king's son. All right, all 70 of King Ahab's son. They placed their heads in baskets and presented them to Jehu at Jezreel. Okay. So a messenger went to Jehu and said, they have brought the heads of the king's son. So Jehu ordered, pile them into 2 heaps. All right, this is at 8. He ordered pile them in 2 heaps at the entrance of the city gate and leave them there until morning. In the morning he went out and spoke to the crowd, and he gathered them together around him. Okay, we are not to blame, he told them. I am the one who conspired against my master and killed him. Talking about Ahab's family. Ahab. Okay, who killed all these though? You can be sure that the message of the Lord has spoken concerning Ahab's family will not fail. The Lord declared through his servant Elijah that this would happen. Okay? Through his servant Elijah that this would happen. Then Jehu killed all who were left of Ahab's relatives living in Jezreel, all the important officials, his people's friends, his personal friends, and his priests. So Ahab was left without a single survivor. Okay? Then go down to 12. Then Jehu set out for Samaria. Along the way, while he was at Beth Akkad of the shepherds, okay, he met some relatives of King Ahaziah, which is a relative of King Ahab of Judah. All right. Who are you? He asked them. All right. And they replied, we are relatives of King Ahaziah. Okay. All right. We are going to visit the sons of King Ahab. All right. And the sons of Queen Mother. Now these were kings of Ahijah, which was Jehoshaphat's descendants, and Jehoram descendants. Okay. Jehu killed both of them. So he killed both the descendants of Judah and both the descendants of Israel because they were wicked. All right. Okay, so Jehu ended up killing 42 of Ahab's families. Okay, when Jehu left there, he met Jehonadab, son of Rechab, okay, of the Rechabites, who was coming to meet him. After they had greeted each other, Jehu said to him, are you loyal as I am? All right, are you loyal to me as I am to you? He said, yes, I am. All right, so this is the Rechabites. All right, the Rechabites teaming up with Jehu, and they're going down to Samaria. Okay, so Jehonadab put out his hand, and Jehu helped him into the chariot. Then Jehu said, now come with me and see how devoted I am to the Lord. So Jehonadab rode along with him. Then when Jehu arrived in Samaria, he killed everyone who was left there from Ahab's family, just as the Lord had promised from Elijah. Okay, so you get down to 18. Jehu kills the priests of Baal. All right, and we want to cover that real quick. Okay, because this is just like Moses, right? This is just like the story of Moshe. Just like the story of Moshe, when Moshe goes and kills, when Moshe prophesies the 70 elders. Okay, when he prophesies the 70 elders. Okay, and they did the same thing. So this is the same situation, okay, where Jehu kills the priest. All right, so we'll cover that real quick. So y'all go down to 18. Jehu strikes down the prophets of Baal. So check this out. So then Jehu called a meeting, okay, of all the people of the city, all right, and said to them, Ahab's worship of Baal was nothing compared to the way I will worship him. Okay, therefore summon all the prophets, worshippers of Baal, okay, and call together all his priests. See to it that every one of them comes, for I am going to offer a great sacrifice to Baal. Anyone who fails to come will be put to death. Okay, but Jehu's cunning plan was to destroy all the worshippers of Baal because it was prophesied. Okay. Then Jehu ordered, prepare a solemn assembly to worship Baal. So they did. He sent messengers throughout all of Israel, summoning those who worship Baal. Throughout all of Israel. Okay. They all came, not a single one remained behind. And they filled the temple of Baal from one end to the other. And Jehu instructed the keeper of the wardrobe to be sure that every worshiper of Baal wears one of these robes. Okay? So robes were given to them. Okay? Then Jehu went into the temple of Baal. Jehonadab, son of Rechab, of the Rechabites, Jehu said to the worshippers of Baal, make sure no one of the worshippers of the Lord is in here. Alright? Make sure no one that worships Ahchwa is in here. Only the one who worshiped Baal. Okay? So they were all inside the temple to offer sacrifices, and they burnt offerings. Okay? Now get down to 24. So now Jehu had stationed 80 of his men outside the building and had warned them, if you let anyone escape, you will pay for it with your own life. Alright? So as soon as Jehu had finished sacrificing the burnt offerings, he commanded his guards and officers, go in and kill all of them. Don't let a single one escape. So they killed them all with their swords. Okay? And the guards and the officers dragged their bodies outside. Then Jehu men went into the innermost fortress of the temple of Baal. They dragged out the sacred pillar used in the worship of Baal, and they burned it. They smashed the sacred pillar and wrecked the temple of Baal, converting it into a public toilet, as it remains to this day. Okay? In this way, Jehu destroyed every trace of Baal worship from Israel. He did not, however, destroy the gold calves at Bethel and Dan, okay, with which Jeroboam, son of Nebat, had caused Israel to sin. Nonetheless, the Lord said to Jehu, you have done well in the following my instructions to destroy the family of Ahab. Okay? Therefore, your descendants will be kings of Israel down to the 4th generation. But Jehu did not obey the law of the Lord, the God of Israel, with all his heart. He refused to turn from the sins that Jeroboam had led Israel to commit. Okay? And what was that? That Jeroboam. Alright? That was these pagan shrines. So yet and still, now this Jehu was a prophet. Okay? And he still commenced to leave these idol worships up. I can't understand why did he commence to leave these idol worships up. Okay? But yet and still he told him that his generation will last 4 generations after him, and that's exactly what happened. He destroyed all the family of Ahab. Okay, but yet and still he did not destroy the golden calves at Bethel and Dan. Remember that Jeroboam had set up? He didn't destroy that for some reason. Okay, so he caused Israel to sin. So if you go down to 32, the death of Jehu. Alright, so the death of Jehu, because Jehu sinned against Ahchwa, so at about that time, Ahchwa began to cut down the size of Israel's territory. So that's exactly what happened. The territory, the land was cut down. Okay, it was shortened. King Hazael conquered several sections, okay, of the country. Now remember, Elijah had prophesied that what King Hazael would do after he killed previous king before him, right? So that he would conquer several sections of the country east of the Jordan River, including all of Galilee, okay? All of Gad, Reuben, and Menasseh, okay? He conquered from the area of the town of Eror by the Arnon Gorge as far as the north of Gilead and Bashan. Okay, the rest of the events go to in Jehu's reign. All his achievements were recorded in the book of history of Israel. When Jehu died, he was buried in Samaria. Then his son Jehoahaz became the next king. In all, Jehu reigned over Israel from Samaria for 28 years. Okay, so at the same time Jehu was king, okay, over Israel, King Hazael conquered several sections. Okay. Now King Hazael was king of what? Aram, right? King of Aram, Armenian. And that was Edom. So King Hazael already was taking cities east of the Jordan in Gilead, Gad, Reuben, and Menasseh. Remember Hazael or Edom had their own kings. They had their own, they separated, right? Alright. So then we get into chapter 11 with Queen Athaliah rules over in Judah, and they hurry up and got her out. Okay? Revolt against Athaliah. In the 7th year of Athaliah's reign, Jehoiada the priest summoned the commanders, the Karite mercenaries. Alright, so there you got the Rechabites, you got the Karites, and man, you know, these are our districts, okay, that Solomon has set up that's just holding it down, man. That's holding down the business in all this these more and more wars going on between Israel and Judah. Alright. And so during this Queen Jehoiada, right, when Jehoiada, the mother of King Ahijah of Judah, okay, learned that her son was dead, right, from Jehu, right? Remember, he killed the king of Judah and the king of Israel. So when she discovered her son was dead, she began to destroy the rest of the royal family. But Ahaziah's sister, Jehosheba, the daughter of King Jehoram, right, took Ahaziah's infant son Joash, and stole him away among the rest of the king's children who were about to be killed. She put Joash and his nurse in the bedroom to hide him from Athaliah, so the child was not murdered. Joash remained hidden in the temple of the Lord for 6 years while Athaliah ruled over the land. So as you can see, who else had to be hidden? Okay? Who else had to be hidden? Alright? So in the 70th year of Athaliah's reign, Jehoiada the priest summoned the commanders, the Karites, the Karite mercenaries, and the palace guards to come to the temple of the Lord. He made solemn pact. Okay? He made a solemn pact with them and made them swear oath to the loyalty of the Lord's temple. Then he showed them the king's son. Okay? The king's son. So you go down to 11. Okay, you go down to 11. So we hitting 5, and Jehoiada told them, this is what you must do. A third of you who are on duty on the Shabbat are to guard the royal palace itself. Another third of you is about to stand guard, okay, at the Sur Gate. And the final third must stand guard behind the palace. These 3 groups will stand guard. Okay, so what he's saying is Jehoiada the priest, alright, and he supplied them with spears and small shields that they had belonged to the King David. They had belonged to King David and were stored in the temple of the Lord. The palace guards stationed themselves around the king with their weapons ready. Okay, then Jehoiada brought out Joash, the king's son, placed the crown on his head, and presented him with a copy of God's laws. They appointed him or proclaimed him king, and everyone clapped their hands and shouted, "Long live the king." So this is when baby Joash was crowned, all right? Because it was this queen Athaliah who ruled in Judah, right after Jehu had died. Okay, and so she was trying to kill. She was trying to kill. She was trying to destroy the whole rest of the royal family. Okay, but Ahijah's sister, okay, the daughter of King Jehoram, took Ahijah's infant son Joash and stole him away, the same as they did Moses. Okay, the same as they did our Hamashiachs. Okay, because this was Israel, the same thing. Okay, in Revelations 12, this is Israel or Judah, same thing, not wanting a dynasty to be born. Okay, not wanting a dynasty to be born, man. Okay, so Jehu had to come and prophesy and make sure that dynasty is being born. Okay, he had to come prophesy and make sure that this dynasty is born. So Joash was crowned the king, and so they end up killing the death of Athaliah. They end up killing her. Okay, Jehoiada the priest ordered the commanders who were in charge of the troops take her to her soldiers in front of the temple and kill anyone who tries to rescue her. Okay, for the priest had said she must not be killed in the temple of the Lord. So they seized her and led her out to the gate, okay, where horses entered the palace grounds, and she was killed there. All right, and so then Jehoiada made a covenant between the Lord, okay, and the king and the people, that they would be the Lord's people. Okay, and also made a covenant between the king and the people, and all the people of the land went over to the temple of Baal and tore it down. They demolished all the altars and smashed the idols to pieces, and they killed Matan the priest of Baal in front of the altars. Jehoiada the priest stationed the guards at the temple of the Lord. Then the commanders, the Karite mercenaries, the palace guards, and the people of the land escorted the king from the temple of the Lord. They went through the gate of the guards and into the palace, and the king took his seat on the royal throne. So all the people of the land rejoiced, and the city was peaceful, because Athaliah had been killed at the king's palace. So Joash was 7 years old when he became king. 7 years, man. All right, 7 years. So you just see what happened when Israel comes together. All right, how we defeat our wickedness through prophecy. All this is prophesied through a walk. So how we defeat our wickedness. So Joash repairs the temple. Joash began to rule in Judah. So let's go down to 12. Yeah, man, we just skimming through that, man. I hope y'all just, y'all chiming in, y'all doing what you got to do. You can just set this up while you're doing other things, because this is just that long reading where we breaking down. We figuring out what's going on with our people. Okay, so instead of blaming other people, we figuring out what's going on with our people. And from the looks at it, man, we're not following Hawa, okay, and we're not following the prophecies. All right. So what are we doing as a people now? Is anybody prophesying? You know what I'm saying? Like Elijah said, is there a prophet anywhere in the town of Samaria? Is there a prophet anywhere in the town of Ame'rican? Samaria? America? Is there a prophet anywhere in the town? Alright? Okay, so all his life Joash did was pleasing, what was pleasing in the Lord's sight, because Jehoiada the priest instructed him. Okay? So he was instructed by a priest. Okay? Yet even so, he did not destroy the pagan shrines, and the people still offered sacrifices and burnt incense there. Okay? So no one destroyed the pagan shrines that Jeroboam built. Okay? In Dan and Naphtali. No one never destroyed them. Okay? So one day King Joash, let's go down to 4. All right, 12 and 4. One day King Joash said to the priests, collect all the money, okay, brought as a sacred offering to the Lord's temple, whether it's regular assessment of paying vows and voluntary, okay. But the 23rd year of Joash's reign, the priest still had not repaired the temple, okay. He wanted to bring the money up to repair it, but in the 23rd year, he still ain't repaired the temple. All right, so Jehu and the priest bored a hole, and they just made sure it got done. So Joash made sure that the temple was repaired. All right. Okay, so the end of Joash's rules, okay, where these and our iniquities were given over to Hazael, the king of Edom. Okay, so the end of Joash's rule. Okay, let's go down to 17. Let's go on to 17. Okay, about this time King Hazael of Aram went to war against Gath and captured it. Okay, then he turned to attack Jerusalem, Jerusalem, right? Cholula, right? The King Joash collected all the sacred objects that Jehoshaphat, Jehoram, and Ahaziah, the previous kings of Judah, had dedicated, along with what he himself had dedicated. He sent them all to Hazael, along with all the gold in the treasuries of the Lord's temple and the royal palace. So Hazael called off his attack on Jerusalem. Okay, so he gave away all our iniquities to Hazael. Okay, so the rest of the events in Joash's reign and everything he did is recorded in the book of the history of the kings of Judah. Okay, so Joash's officers plotted against him and assassinated him in Beth Milo on the road to Selah. The assassins were Josachar, son of Shimeah, and Jehoshaphat, son of Shamer, both trusted advisors. Joash was buried with his ancestors in the city of David when his son Amaziah became the next king. Man, that's a damn shame. Okay, Joash repaired the temple, and he still was assassinated by his own people. Alright, so if you go down to chapter 20, you'll see the death of Joash, man. This is crazy. And how we, stood behind him as king. Okay, how we stood behind him as king, man. And somebody assassinated him. So when you can go down to it, okay, let's go down to 20. Okay, and his servants arose and made a conspiracy and slew Joash in the house of Milo, right? So as you can see, for it was Josachar, the son of who? This was an Israelite. Okay, Shimeah, the son of who? Ammonite. Okay, so an Israelite, an Ammonite. Okay, Israelites and Ammonites together, okay, killed the seed of Judah. Alright, so it's the same thing over and over, the same perpetual cycle that we doing, man. We killing each other. Okay, so Jehoiash rules over in in Israel in chapter 13. Okay, and these are all the kings after David. Okay, these are all the kings after David. How we just totally effed up the northern tribe and the southern tribe. We running amok, man. More against more. Okay. So 13, Jehoash. Now this was the son of Jehu. Remember that line, right? This was the son of Jehu, Jehoash. The son of Jehu began to rule over Israel in the 23rd year of the king of Joash reign in Judah. Okay, so remember, Jehoaz was from Jehu, so he was from the descendant of Judah also. So this was prophecy from Ahchwa. Okay, but he did what was evil in the sight of the Lord. He followed the example of Jehoram too, continuing the sins of Jehoram and led Israel to commit. So the Lord was very angry with Israel, and he allowed the king of Hazael of Aram and his son Ben-Hadad to defeat them repeatedly. Okay? Alright? Because no one tore down the calves in Dan and Naphtali that Jeroboam built. Right? So we never leave to Jerusalem to worship. Right? So we always stay in the cities. Right? We never leave outside the cities to go worship. Right? So therefore, he said, so Ahchwa was very angry with Israel. Alright? And he allowed King Hazael of Aram, right there in 3, of Aram, of Syria. Okay? And into the hand of Ben-Hadad, the son of Hazael, all their days. Okay, so he allowed us to lose all our wars. Okay, this is Jehoaz, the rule in Israel. So the Most High said that he started to cede our lands then. Okay, upon Jehu's death, that he started to cede our lands then. Okay, they got several sections of the country east of the Jordan River, including Gilead, Gad, Reuben, and Menasseh. Okay. And Menasseh and Bashan. Okay, so then Ahchwa prayed. Okay, he prayed. If you go down to 4, Jehoaz prayed for Ahchwa's help, and Ahchwa heard his prayer, for he could see how severely the king of Aram was oppressing Israel. Okay, we were being oppressed by Edom. So Ahchwa provided someone to rescue the Israelites from the tyranny of the Arameans. Okay, then Israel lived in safety again as they had in their former days. So what would you call that? A savior. Okay, so he provided someone to rescue Israel from the tyranny of the Arameans. Alright. So, but they continued to sin, following the evil example of Jeroboam. They also allowed the Asherah pole in Samaria to remain standing. Okay. Finally, Jehoaz's army was reduced to 50 chariots, 50 charioteers, 10 chariots, and 10,000 foot soldiers. The king of Aram had killed the others, trampling them like dust under his feet. All right. So now let's go to 10. Right. 13 and 10. So as you can see, Edom has taken over Samaria. Edom has taken over. Alright, okay, so Elijah's, actually let's go to Jehoaz ruled in Israel. Okay, in 10. Y'all alright? What's up to my people in the chat, man? Y'all still there? Y'all drinking y'all tea? I hope y'all getting over to your checking out some of that tea, man. You know, staying alert, staying with it, staying on above. Tea or water, man, that's it, right? So Joaz ruled in Israel. Joaz, son of Jehoaz, began to rule over Israel in the 37th year of King Joaz's reign in Judah. He reigned in Samaria 16 years, but he did what was evil on the Lord's sight too. He refused to turn from the sins of Jeroboam. Alright. So this is where Elijah's final prophecy comes in 14, the death of Elijah. Okay. So this is Elijah's final prophecy. So when Elijah was in his last illness, King Jehoash of Israel visited him and wept over him. My father, I see the chariots and the charioteers of Israel, he cried. Elijah told him, get a bow and some arrows. And the king did as he told. Elijah told him. Alright, this is 16. Okay, Elijah told him, put your hand on the bow. And Elijah laid his own hands on the king's hands. When he commanded, open that eastern window. And he opened it. Then he said, shoot. Okay, so he shot an arrow. Elijah proclaimed, this is the Lord Yahweh's arrow. An arrow of victory over Aram. Okay, Aram. Okay, so you will completely conquer the Arameans at Aphek. Okay, then he said, now pick up the other arrows and strike them again to the ground. So the king picked them up and struck the ground 3 times. But the man of God, Elijah, was angry with him. He said, you should have struck the ground 5 or 6 times. He exclaimed. Then you would have beaten Aram until it was entirely destroyed. Okay, now you will be victorious only 3 times. Then Elijah died and he was buried. Okay, so groups of Moabite raiders used to invade the land each spring. Once when some Israelites were burying a man, they spied a band of these raiders. So they hastily threw the corpse into the tomb of Elijah and fled. But as soon as the body touched Elijah's bones, the dead man revived and jumped to his feet. Okay? Man, that's a deep ruach right there, man. Okay, that's a deep ruach. Wow. So Elijah, before he died, he had prophesied that the fact that, Joash was going to defeat the Assyrians. Okay. So King Hazazel of Aram had oppressed Israel during the time of the reign of King Jehoash. But the Lord was gracious and merciful to the people of Israel, and they were not totally destroyed. Okay, he pitied them because of his covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and to this day he still has not completely destroyed them or banished them from his presence. Okay, so go down to 2 Kings 24, 13 to 24. So like to this day, man, even though we steadily commit sin over and over again, right? Even though Israel war with Judah over and over again, right? Yahweh still keeps his promise. Ain't that something? So yeah, so we got to open our eyes to what's really going on, my people. We got to open our eyes and we have to stop this fighting against each other. And we all have to unite, man, on this one voice, man, this one ruach. And that's this law, man. So King, go down to 24. King Hazael dies, right? Of Aram dies, and his son Ben-Hadad became the next king. Then Jehoash, the son of the son of Jehoash, right? Then Jehoash, son of Jehoahaz, recaptured from Ben-Hadad, son of Hazael, the towns that had been taken from Jehoash's father. Okay, Jehoash defeated Ben-Hadad on 3 occasions and recovered the Israelite towns. Okay, so now as you can see that the towns that were given to Ben-Hadad were also recovered. Okay. They were also recovered. Okay, these towns were covered from Ben-Hadad. We had fought them on 3 different occasions and recovered the Israelite towns. So as you can see, it was a topsy-turvy going back and forth, man. Okay, so Amaziah rules in Judah in chapter 14. Amaziah rules in Judah. Okay, now, Amaziah is ruling in Judah after Joash. Okay. Okay. So Amaziah was the son of Joash, began to rule over Judah in the 2nd year of the reign of King Jehoash of Israel. Okay. So his mother was Jehoiadan from Jerusalem. Amaziah did what was pleasing, okay, in Jehovah's sight, but not like his ancestor David. So nobody was like David. Instead, he followed the example of his father Joash. Amaziah did not destroy the pagan shrines, and the people still offer sacrifices and burnt incense there. Okay. Okay. But Amaziah also killed 10,000 Edomites. If you go down to 7. So Amaziah also killed 10,000 Edomites in the Valley of Salt. He also conquered Selah and changed his name to Jachil, okay, as it is called to this day. Alright, so you look into that Jachil, and we talking about Amaziah was a descendant of Judah. Alright, and his name is Jachil to this day. Alright. So on one day, Amaziah sent messengers to challenge to Israel King Jehoash, the son of Jehoahaz, the grandson of Jehu. Come and meet me in battle. You talking about the grandson of Jehu? Alright, so he got real cocky, man. You talking about the grandson of Jehu. Alright. So, but King Jehoash of Israel replied to the king Amaziah of Judah with this story. Okay, out of Lebanon mountains, a thistle sent a message to a mighty cedar. Give your daughter in marriage to my son. But just then a wild animal of Lebanon came by and stepped on his thistle. What he was basically telling, man, listen, man, you don't understand this line. I'm also from Judah. Okay, so I will destroy you, man. What he's telling him, you know, I'm something deeper, man. I'm actually from Judah, but I am from the angels. I'm from Melchizedek. I'm from this dragonology. You know what I'm saying? So Amaziah didn't understand that this is dragonology. Me and my kings, my prophets, my descendants is dragonology. From Jehu to Jehoahaz to Jehoahaz to Jeroboam and to Zechariah, man. This ain't no play. And as we'll see that, okay? Now this Jeroboam the second. Alright, now that's Jeroboam the second. This is we talking about a descendant of Judah. Okay. Alright, so Amaziah must thought it was sweet, man. So he, like he said, you know, he wanted to go to war with Jehu's descendants. Okay. So, but Amaziah refused to listen. So King Jehoash of Israel mobilized his army against King Amaziah of Judah. The two armies drew up their battle lines at Beth Shemesh in Judah. Judah was routed by the army of Israel, and its army scattered and fled for home. King Joash of Israel captured Judah's king, Amaziah, okay? Amaziah, son of Joash and the grandson of Ahaziah, at Beth Shemesh. Then he marched to Jerusalem, where he demolished 600 feet of Jerusalem's wall. From the Ephraim gate to the corner gate, he carried off all the gold and silver and all the artifacts from the temple of the Lord. He also seized the treasures from the royal palace, along with the hostages, and he returned to Samaria. Okay, he returned to Samaria. The rest of the events in Jehoahaz's reign. All right, so man, you can see what time it is. Okay, Jeroboam rules. This is the second. This is the last. Well, this is almost the last descendant. This is the fourth descendant of Jehu, where he rules, and he rules in Israel at the same time. The 5th year of the king of Ame'rican ruled in Judah. Jeroboam reigned in Samaria 41 years. He did what was evil in the sight of the Lord too. He refused to turn from the sins of Jeroboam, man. All right. Okay, so then when we get down to chapter 15, all right, so we breezing through, man. I hope y'all paying attention, man. We breezing through. We getting into chapter 15. We got, we're gonna take a couple breaks or whatever, but hope y'all understanding what's going on. It's gonna be a hot little minute. We almost through. Hope y'all understand what's going on. So you see Israel, Judah, Edom joining forces together, joining treaties together, destroying each descendants. So so as you can see, man, in our days it went down, and still to this day, between Israel and Judah, it goes down. Between Israel and Israel, it goes down. Okay, so this just give us a better analogy of what's going on in our house. Okay, in our house, so we can stop blaming other people. It's telling us we seeing what's going on in our house. Okay, and we can see, man, through this prophet Jehu, man, we had eunuchs everywhere. Okay, we had eunuchs everywhere. Okay, so in these houses, even when we worship the pagans and all this, okay, when the prophecy arises for the Most High to do His work, we move in accordingly. Okay, so that just goes to show you that we will be, coming to roost, man. We will be coming home. Heaven will be coming here, man. We will be coming home. We will be getting our heaven. We will be seeing Shambhala. We will be seeing Kalalus. Alright. We will be seeing the promised land. Alright, so let's get to 15 real quick. Alright, let's get to 15 real quick. Actually, give me a minute. Give me a second.